Business development. Thank you everybody for coming. So tonight we're going to talk about leadership. In talking about leadership, go ahead and take up the agenda, and underneath there is going to be a note, a follow along there. You can follow along with this, and this is going to be an active meeting, and you're just going to follow along. And when I express the question, we're going to go ahead and just write it down. We're going to keep it quick and keep on moving. For those who are online, what we'll do is we'll add in the levels below. Tony he'll add in this too, so you guys have access to this worksheet. So when you rewatch this, you can follow along as well. So looking at leadership, leadership ultimately, us being in business, we're in business because we love it, sure, but we're also in business because we want to create wealth for us, our family, and our loved ones. It's not about having a room full of gold and sitting back on it and having a good time. That's going to get old real quick, right? It's what that can do for us. It's buying back our time for each and every one of us. So I just want to give you some metrics here on how small we think. No matter how big we think, we still think small. Think about that. No matter how big we think, we still think small comparatively to what's available to us. So there is $123 trillion in circulation in the entire world. 95% of all the wealth is going to be 5% of all the wealth is obtained of that 123 trillion, which is going to be, it comes out to be $116.85 trillion is in 5% of the population. The other 95% is sharing a small $6.1 trillion. Why? Leadership. It all comes down to stewarding leadership and how you are navigating yourself to put yourself out there to influence others. Because if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you got to go together. I said this to Greg the other day, the bigger the target, the bigger the team. You won't find any billionaire that doesn't have a massive team and who is not an influential leader. Now you have those rare ones like Rob's that sit in the dark rooms, and I'm just kidding. They get rich off the stock market, but we all can't be that way. But the majority of that 5% is withheld from entrepreneurs and business people, and they have mastered the 5 pillars of business. So looking at leadership and what's available to us, we're going to define what true leadership is. We're going to show how leadership starts with ourselves before we can lead others. And then lastly, we're going to demonstrate the impact of strong leadership on business, career, and family. So number one, what is leadership? So on your questionnaire then, when you hear the word, I'm sorry, we're not quite ready for that. Getting you ready though, getting you warmed up. When you hear the word leader, who comes to mind? When you hear the word leader for you individually, who comes to mind? And then why? Why do you think that is? You don't have to, you can write it down if you want to, it's not one of the questions, but just think it in your head, okay? Many think of a CEO, military generals, or public figures as leaders. See, leadership is not a position, it's a mindset and a way of life. It's proactive. The first and most important thing you have to learn about leadership is you first have to lead yourself. Once we can lead ourselves, we can lead others well. But we're all influenced by outward sources. So what is influencing you ultimately is going to create the leader that's within you. So if you want to change your leadership, change your influence. It's simple, right? But it's hard. There's some things that every one of us have, those things that just kind of hold us down, and you know what to do, you just don't know how to do it. And we talked last week, and go back, if you guys haven't listened to it, go back on our YouTube channel and listen to Finding Your Why, and how your why will produce the motivation, and how purpose is actually going to fuel growth. And if you have these things, accomplishing a goal and actually having accomplishments is what's going to ultimately have us change. And that's what's going to push us through. A leader is someone who takes responsibility for their influence. This is huge. Leaders do not make excuses. They only have reasons. And there's a difference. You can have an excuse or you can have a reason. So true leaders are taking responsibility, because if you don't take ownership of your mistake and where you're at, you can't fix it. And if you can't fix something, it stays broken. If it stays broken, that's a definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So we first have to take responsibility. And leadership isn't about titles, it's about action. And we talked just one above that leadership is proactive. It's not reactive. It's a chess game. True leaders are always 10 moves ahead. They're 10 moves ahead of everything in their life. They know where their weak points are and they know where their strong points are. They know how to guard and protect their weak points and change those weak points to strong points. So we talked last week about how professionally we want to focus on our strengths and increase our strengths, and we want to delegate our weaknesses. Well, guess what? When it comes to our personal lives, we can't delegate our weaknesses. We have to actually fix those things because that's really going to hold us back. So what things in our life, 3 things that you would like to change, some weaknesses in your life personally. You don't have to write them down, just have them in your head, think of them. And if those things would change and would be accomplished, I promise you would be that much better of a leader and you would influence that many more people and your wealth would increase, 100%. Now to the question. Write down one leader who has influenced your life. What made them a great leader? So write down one leader who has influenced your life and what made them a great leader. All right, so as we write this out, I'm going to continue. Who is a leader? Who is a leader? So who here considers themselves a leader? Raise your hand. Who considers themselves here a leader? Awesome. Every one of us are a leader, and we're going to go through and we're going to find out how. Everyone is a leader in some way. Whether you're leading a business, a team, your family, or just yourself, you have influence. Influence is leadership. You have influence on yourself. The only control you have is over your own decisions. That's the only control we have in life. So much of our worry comes from trying to be in control. I'm a control freak. I'll confess, I am a control freak. And Rob. Rob's like, yep. So, but in that, if that's the case, worry is the biggest enemy of a leader. Because when you become a leader and you start leading yourself well and you start leading teams, you not only have your own things to care about, you have all of their stuff to care about. You're now responsible for them. They're under your umbrella of protection and leadership and financial security. If you go down, the whole ship goes down. So that's a big responsibility. So not everybody can actually, in their state they are now, run a huge company, because they would actually let worry overtake their cares. There's one thing about responsibility. Leaders understand the difference from worrying and caring about something. Caring about something is, look, I care about you, I have a plan, and it's a calculated risk. Every business is a calculated gamble, and this is the direction we're going based off all the data. This is a move that we should make. I care about everyone in this decision, but I'm not going to stay awake and worry about it. If you're worrying about it, it's because you're lacking confidence. And last week we talked about confidence can come from experience, but does not have to come from experience. If you want to go really far, but you can't see where you need to go, find a giant and climb on his shoulders and you'll get to see the same view that he does. So we don't have to run our entire life to gain experience. We can go to others who already have it. I talk about, I am releasing a book, Sales, and in that book, I talk about how in leadership and pursuing leadership and sitting on the shoulders of giants, so many people are pursuing a George Washington in person to sit down with. But you don't need a George Washington. You can read about him. And you can have a conversation and you can get inside somebody's head by just reading about what they wrote. And sometimes I think we forget that, right? In the 21st century, we don't have to read anymore. You know, we can watch it, we can listen to it. There's so much information available to us, but sometimes it gets so convoluted in our everyday life. A leader also knows how to be busy and when not to be busy. A leader is always present where he's at. If a leader is at work, he's focused on work. If a leader is out with a friend, he's focused on that friend. If a leader is at home, He is focused on his children and on his wife. I have a lot to grow and to do. We all do, yeah. But can you see this is a full circle and wrapping it back around that if you're continually worrying about something, that problem at work is going to follow you home. And if it's following you home, that's a personal weakness that we have within us. Is it in your control? Then great. Then let's handle it. Let's don't be the insane people having the same worry every single day, producing the same result, expecting something different. Let's change it. Let's change it. If anything in 2025, if we could fix 3 weaknesses, we could set the trajectory of the rest of our life so much further. We would create the capacity to think bigger. It's called limited thinking belief. All of us have limited thinking beliefs. If you look at somebody who is full, there's 2 things. They're full because they're filled to capacity, or they're not hungry because they're sick. Leaders always are ravishly hungry because they're always growing their capacity to be filled. Think about that. We have to grow our capacity to be filled. How's that? How's that possible? Well, if you look at the gym, when somebody goes to the gym and starts building muscle and builds endurance and strength, it takes more fuel. They're growing their capacity to be filled. And those people who go to the gym, scientifically speaking, are most times less sick too. If you're not pushing against a problem in your life to overcome that problem, to gain success and a passion in your life, I promise that you're going to reach a level of comfort in your life and you're going to reach a ceiling of that thing, and 100,000 is going to be good enough for you, 300,000 is going to be enough for you, 1 million, 1 billion, whatever it is. We can never settle. Now, we're talking about financial goals. We also have personal goals that's even more important than those financial goals. But using it as an illustration, we never want to get to a place where we're satisfied. Everything that you want is on the other side of comfort. And the way that I see everything in life is my why really comes down to Martha and my kids, Oriel, Angelina, and Briella. That's ultimately where it comes down to first. And I said ultimately again. Are you counting how many times I say it?
I wasn't talking
Okay, all right. We have a little game. So when I have a problem that's in front of me, my mission is to solve that problem so I can better their life. And then after that, it's how can I better my friend's life? How can I benefit my family's life? How can I benefit the life of the stranger on the side of the street? Your why, like we talked about last week, cannot start or end with you. If it does, you'll be that multiple billionaire on a yacht who commits suicide because his money didn't satisfy him, because he was living for himself. Listen, if you're not living for something greater than yourself, life will never be worth living, and depression and anxiety will come in. So will worry. So we have to make sure that we are leaning on our why and having our why navigate and guide us. And if we have our why navigating and guide us, we won't take those bunny trails and get caught in the brush. We've all taken those roads of, why did I do that? It didn't even line up with what my core values, my mission, visions, and values were. Everything has to stem from that, and I promise you'll make less decisions. So leaders know their why. Question number 2, where do you have the most influence in your life? Business, family, or community? So go ahead, choose one. Where do you have the most influence in your life? And then number 3, what true leadership looks like. What true leadership looks like. And Rob, you're going to get a cash in for another 25 cents, or I think it raised to 75 cents. But it's a little bit different, so you only get a tenth of it. Rob came up with the strategy, the PPR, personable, professional, and relatable. Well, it's the 3 pillars. These 3 pillars are a little bit different. They're 3 pillars of true leadership. And that is character, consistency, and competence. So character, actually you don't get any of that, so. Character.
That's all you.
Character, who are you when no one is watching? This is huge. That's what character is. Who are you when nobody's watching? Are you, once you reach a level of success and you're behind an office and you have climbed the ladder and nobody's watching you anymore and you don't have to necessarily perform on the hour, on the minute, or even the day, but the end of the week comes and you can see your performance and you could tell if somebody was slacking or not, or the month or the year. What do you do at work when nobody's watching? If your kids were watching you out there performing, would they be impressed with what you're doing? Did you give it all in that sale? Did you leave it all on the table? Did you create a bigger table to take more money off of? I mean, Rob talk about it all the time. You know, don't leave money on the table, but some tables are smaller than others, right? But that's when you just bring a bigger table in and set it down and get more money off of it. But who are you when no one is watching? So just think about that, personally, professionally, and relationally. So consistency. Leaders show up and do what they say they will do, keeping their word. Oh man, if somebody's late and doesn't communicate, it's just a true, leaders communicate. It doesn't mean that leaders are not late. It means that leaders communicate. That rhymed. Doesn't mean that leaders aren't late. It means that leaders communicate. No, okay. You do not want to hear that. You do not want to hear that. So, thank you. So communication. Leaders are a master at communication. They can take a problem, they can navigate it, they communicate it, and they have a whole less problems, by the way, because communication, to communicate and relate with people is 80% of success. The other 20% is what you're doing and how you perform in it. But 80% of success is communication. Have you guys, and I know you have, drove around and done business with other people and gone in the gas stations and met people, the gym, the mall, wherever you're at, and they don't communicate. People do not communicate. People will tell you they're going to be somewhere and how much they want this job, and they're going to, oh, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and they never show up. You know, communication is huge as a leader. So leaders show up and do what they say, even to their own hurt. There's been many times where I'm still improving this area, but if I tell my kids that when I come home and when daddy comes home, we're going to do this, I'm going to do it. I don't care how sick, how tired, what happened. If my customers got in the way or anything happened, it's very, very important that I show up, and no matter what happened, I fulfill my word, even to my own hurt. So I lose a $5,000 deal. So what? I'm not taking that phone call because I promised I would be here. And leaders are always what? They're always present where they're at. And you will always gain more success and more wealth and everything if you're truly at where you're at. You might lose a little up front. You might lose a battle, but I promise you will win the war. So us as warriors and leaders in leading our teams and our family and ourselves, it comes back also to your team, right? If you tell your team you're going to do something in business and you don't do it, hey guys, this is our goal. This is what we're trying to achieve. Well, between you and our goal are probably 20, 30 things that need to change. You got to be that one that's going to go in there and make those changes. You see, bosses push, leaders pull. Bosses push and leaders pull. What does that mean? Bosses are always just like, oh, you got to do what I say. This is the goal, guys. Go out there and do it. Well, leaders, they pull. They're in front. They're walking through through the brush. They're clearing the way. They're making an easier path for their team behind them. They're the ones who are the servants. And really, leaders are always servants first. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty. They're not afraid to do the lowest position of the job. You know, I always tell my team, when you succeed is when I succeed. When you succeed is when I succeed. If you're not succeeding, if your team's not succeeding, your business will not succeed. And so many times business owners, they're blinded by pride. Leaders are humble. They're always humble. And leaders always know not to take too much time in celebrating a victory because it's going to take away from the preparation for the next battle. So when you win is the most vulnerable point as a leader. When we win a victory, there comes a point to where we can take all the credit for something. Leaders don't take credit for everything. They spread the credit where credit is due. Because if we do that and we promote people and we give people not just compliments, but we instill into them greatness and grow and steward that greatness, we will be that much greater as a leader. And it just goes around and benefits everybody. So competence. Leaders never stop learning. Yeah, they never stop learning. Leaders never stop learning and improving. Leaders are masters at going through the school of life and taking notes and passing the test. Because every situation and every problem is a test. You can choose to pass it the first time, the second time, the third time. It's up to you. But leaders are going to take notes, they're going to learn, and they're always going to be improving. So great leaders don't just give orders, they create vision, inspire action. Vision produces action, and too many, quote, leaders are trying to have action without vision. And if you can't properly communicate your vision, and not just communicate it, but keep it the biggest elephant in the room for your company, for your team, for your family, for yourself, if you don't have your goals written down, if you don't look at them every day, your defeat will look at it every day. And you'll see defeat more than you see victory. But if you keep your eyes in front of where you want to go, just like the NASCAR illustration, the NASCAR drivers, they look to where they want to go. At 200 miles an hour, they're not looking at the wall. The rookie NASCAR drivers, they hit the walls all the time till they realize that they have to look 50 yards down the track to the left to where they want to go. So where you're looking at is where you want to go. If you keep on hitting the same problem again and again and again, it's because you're looking at defeat. It's looking where you were before. You know, in life and as leaders, leaders don't have rear view mirrors. They don't care what's behind them. They're not looking back, they're looking forward. So let's stop looking at the wall, let's stop looking at the problems, and let's look to where we want to go so we can get there. And then once we are where we looked 5 minutes ago, 5 years ago, we're no longer looking there anymore. We're looking another 5 years out. We're looking another week out. We're looking another day out. We're not just looking what's right in front of us right here and now. Leaders are playing chess, right? They're 10 moves ahead. They're looking down the road. Never keep your eye somewhere and then arrive there. That's called comfort, and that's going to be the death zone. So question, which of these three pillars, character, consistency, and competence, do you need to improve? Just pick one out of three. Which of these three pillars, character, consistency, competence, do you need to improve? Yeah, so it is leaders never stop learning and improving. Yeah, correct. Yep, stop learning and improving. So we have just like 2 more minutes, and I have 3 more points. So we have a whole another 30 minutes, but I'm not going to do that to you. So we'll continue this next week. We'll continue this talk and go into a little bit more. But I just want to inspire everybody here. Man, I'm just coming into 2025. And even the end of 2024, it just became more real to me that what you actually think is possible is just the starting point for your potential. I promise you that. What you can imagine, think, or conceive within your mind is just a starting point for your potential. Every one of us in here could create something amazing. We could do something amazing. We could leave a mark on the world. My goal when I leave this earth, between the time I was born and the day that I die, there's a dash. I want that dash to represent something that changed the world, that changed people. And if that dash can change people, then my success will live forever within them. And it's not about what I achieved, it's what others achieved from my success. And that's never ending. That's eternal. That will last forever. So I want to duplicate everything that I learn. And I'm no longer just learning from myself. I'm no longer just making money for myself. I'm just sharing with you personally. I'm doing it for others. And I'm having more fun. I'm having more problems, more frustrations than I've ever had in my entire life. But I'm more fulfilled, more motivated, more alive, more energy than I ever had in my entire life. That's awesome. So I just encourage you guys, just think about it. Next time you have a chance, you're driving past a graveyard or whatever, going there at midnight, 3 a.m. If you see the dash, just think about that. That dash represented somebody's life. Life is so short. So let's live it for something that's greater than ourselves, and let's push past comfort. Let's put comfort in the back. Let's don't look at the wall. Let's look to where we want to go and consistently look ahead, and let's freaking do something in 2025. Let's go somewhere. How about it? Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, great. So ending our meeting here, just a reminder, so it's every other Tuesday. It's not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. It is in the evening. And if you guys really enjoyed tonight and you think other people can benefit from it, bring somebody along. If each of us would just bring one person, we would grow 100%, right? Is that 50%? That's 100%. Yeah. I'm not the best at math. That's what Martha does and Tony for me. They're like, Josh, that's not the right number. I'm like, that's what ChatGPT and calculators are for. So, yeah, I know, right? So, but yeah, I would love that. I want to make an impact and grow this group. And really, too, this group is not just about growing your business in the fact of just learning. It's also in lead sharing. So the more businesses and people we can get in here, we can create an amazing lead source just right here. And once you become a member of the group, when you sign up, you will get access to everybody in the database. And then if you have a lead, we have a lead platform. You can just share it with that person. It goes to their email and you can share it back and forth. And we can track everything that goes on. We know exactly how much business was shared to who, to what. And then as this group grows, we'll go around and say, hey, I did business with so-and-so. We'll have monthly, quarterly reports, and then showing how much business we're doing. So that's another big thing for this whole group. So any questions?